Buddycast. No, don't be naughty, go meet a buddy here on Buddycast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
Welcome back, buddies. Long time no seek. It's time for another episode of everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I am your host, Nick Sorensen, and joining me today is a new buddy, my new buddy, Michael. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm great. That was very impressive. I feel like I'm on the Tonight Show. It's very exciting.
Oh, love it. Love it. That's a huge compliment for us. Yes. So, Michael, you're an actor. What inspired you to get into acting?
Right. Okay. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that question. I started when I was very young. I don't remember if there was a specific thing that inspired me. It's one of those things where I think I just sort of came out of the womb and wanted to be a performer. I honestly, it's something that has been with me my entire life, and so I can't point to one like inspiration or one movie or one anything that happened to me when I was a kid. Sorry, that's my answer.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Do you remember any like early roles that you really put yourself into, like anything from high school, anything that that sticks with you to this day?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, there are things that I can point to. Yes, for sure. Like for instance, Al Pacino was a huge influence on me when I was a kid. There's a movie, I want to say it's from 1973, 1974, something like that. It's called Dog Day Afternoon. Have you ever heard of it or seen it?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Dog Day Afternoon. Write that down. It is a classic film from the 70s. It stars Al Pacino, and it's directed by a brilliant film director named Sidney Lumet. I don't remember when I saw it. I can't imagine. I mean, I must have seen it as a child. I don't know why I saw it, because it's definitely not a movie for children. It's about a bank robber. Al Pacino plays a bank robber, and it's based on a true story, something that happened in Brooklyn, New York. And he goes in to rob a bank, and he ends up holding everybody in the bank hostage for maybe a day or a few days. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, the point is, I saw this movie, and Al Pacino to me is just the most amazing, brilliant thing to ever happen on the planet Earth. And so that was something for sure that definitely sticks in my head as like I knew that's what I wanted to be. I really wanted to be Al Pacino. Then I guess some years later, I saw him live in a play in New York called American Buffalo. And I remember it was a very small theater. It was very intimate. And I was sitting in the first row of the theater, and Al Pacino was standing 2 feet away from me. I could smell him. Yes, a huge influence on me still to this day. And I remember thinking way back then that, yes, that's who I want to be, Al Pacino.
Brilliant. I love that
story.
story.
Did you ever see Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta?
I have.
Okay, so there's that. Because I'm from New York. I was born and raised in the Bronx, and in the late 60s and early 70s, all the guys from Brooklyn and the Bronx idolized Al Pacino. And it's in Saturday Night Fever. John Travolta is standing there in his bedroom in his little bikini underwear, and he's staring at a poster of Al Pacino, and he says, "Al Pacino." We all felt it.
Absolutely. Now, buddy, we have a mutual buddy in common, which is what I love about this show. Buddies connecting buddies, or you never know what buddies you're going to meet. We have a buddy, Lorinda.
Yes.
How did you two meet? How did you meet her?
Lorinda Lasitza. How did I meet Lorinda Lasitza? Lorinda and I, of course, I was living in New York at the time, where I'm from. And Lorinda and I both were cabaret performers. I had a cabaret act and Lorinda had a cabaret act as well. We both were working and performing at a place in New York called Don't Tell Mama, which still exists. Great place to go if you ever want to go. If you're in New York and you want some nightlife and you want to see great New York cabaret performers, go to Don't Tell Mama. So anyway, we were both there. Well, I was there. I'd been there for years doing my show. And I remember the day. This woman walked in, this creature who I'd never seen anything like her before. You know, and I'm from New York City. I'm born and raised in New York City. I had seen everything. I was completely jaded. And yet Lorinda walked in and it was like my mind exploded. I could not figure her out at all. I mean, she's like incredibly beautiful, and she's funny, and she's talented. And then I heard her sing. She has this voice, and I remember thinking, I have got to figure her out. She was like a puzzle. I have got to meet this woman, and I have got to get to know her. And so I did, and we started talking, and we became friends. And then we ended up doing a cabaret show together, which was one of the wildest experiences I have ever had in my life. And she is a tremendous performer. Probably, maybe, I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if it's a secret. Probably going to be making her Broadway debut next year. I don't know if I've said the wrong thing, Lorinda. If you're watching, I'm sorry. But she is a marvelous, powerful, intense, funny, intelligent, strong human being, and she just attracts greatness to her and just magnifies greatness and all. Yeah, I can't say enough about Lorinda. I love her.
She is a true buddy. She's got a powerful story behind her. She's just a fantastic singer. I saw her when she did the Knights of London show here in my hometown, and that I got front row tickets for my birthday, and that show blew me away. Like, that show was just fantastic. If you've ever seen it,
Knights of London, that's what it's called. No, I have not seen it. What is it?
It's with Spot On Entertainment, which she works for, and it's a collaboration of Elton John, Paul McCartney, and what's his name? I know his name. Andrew Lloyd Webber, who Elton John is my favorite singer. Paul McCartney's a legend, and Andrew Lloyd Webber is one of my favorite composers. So that was the trifecta for me.
Got it. The Brits. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you got to see it. I'm so glad you met Lorinda. Yeah, she's great.
And Lorinda tells me you have a powerful story too. She sent me a YouTube video that you have made from your powerful story. If you don't mind sharing with our buddies.
I don't mind sharing at all. Is this the story about my husband? Is that the story you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Right. I mean, yes, that is kind of an amazing story. And it's long, so I won't bore everybody with the long
story. We love long stories on Buddycast, so don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I will try to. Okay. So I met this man, this incredible, beautiful man, in 2009, and we went out. He asked me out on a date. So we went out on this date, and we had dinner, and we were talking, and now there's a flashback in the story. Cut to a flashback 10 years earlier, before this date. I had found this poem online, and it became my favorite poem of all time. I loved it so much, but I could never find the name of the author. I couldn't find it anywhere else. I just sort of randomly found it on this one site. I absolutely don't remember what site I found it on. But I searched and I searched and I tried to find the author. I thought maybe there were other poems by this person. Couldn't find anything. But I love this poem so much that I had printed it out, and I folded it up and I put it in my wallet. I kept it in my wallet for years, like 10 years. Now, back to the story. I'm having this date with this beautiful man. His name is Antonio. And of course, you're on a date. We're talking, getting to know each other. And he happens to say that he likes poetry. And I was like, oh, you know what? I carry my favorite poem around with me in my wallet. And so I took it out of my wallet and I unfolded it and I gave it to him and he read it. He sat there and he read it for a second. And he looked up at me and he said, is this a joke? And I said, why? What do you mean you don't like it? He said, no, I love it. I wrote it.
Wow.
So he had written a poem that had been in my wallet for like 10 years. And so, of course, at that moment, I was absolutely mesmerized and immediately fell in love. And in fact, we ended up, we dated for a long time, and then we did end up getting married. The unfortunate part of the story, the sad part of the story, is that after we got married, he got very sick, and he ended up dying. He had cancer, and so that's the sad, unfortunate part of the story. But the time that we had together was spectacular. It was like I was married to a rock star, and he was beautiful and intelligent and so creative and such an interesting person. It was, we both felt like it was fate that we had found each other. And as sad as it was, I still feel incredibly grateful for the experience. I feel incredibly grateful for having met him and having had the time that I did have with him. So yeah. That's great.
Could I ask, what was the poem?
Well, the poem, it was called Wait for Him. Maybe people can find it online. I don't know. His name was Antonio Mojica, Mojica, from Puerto Rico. And the name of the poem was Wait for Him. And it was all about, when I found the poem, I had just actually broken up with somebody else, and I was just being miserable and unhappy, and I somehow found this poem that was it's called Wait for Him, and it's about finding that person that maybe your soulmate, or wait for that perfect person to show up, stay patient, stay vigilant, and all of that stuff. And it just, like, this poem just hit me, and it was so beautiful. And in fact, it ended up happening to me in my life. I waited 10 years, and then he showed up. And he showed up at a dinner table in a restaurant, and there we had dinner together, and then we fell in love. So wait for him.
Brilliant. That's the absolute truth. Wait for love. Because when you wait for it and it comes, it's worth the wait.
It was totally worth the wait. And again, as sad as the ending was, I am so glad that it happened. And I'm so glad that I got to meet and share time with this wonderful person.
Beautiful. What's the biggest lesson or the biggest impact that your husband taught you with your time together?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there are so many. I mean, the experience, if anybody has ever been through the death of a spouse or the death of a child or anything like that, grief is a great teacher. Unfortunately, it's very painful, but I learned so much from him, and I learned so much from the experience. You know what I will share with you? One of the many things that I learned, not necessarily from him, but from the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that everybody has a story.
You're absolutely right.
What I mean by that, is that, we walk down the street, we get in our cars, we drive down the highway, whatever, we go shopping, we see people, I live in a big city now, I live in Los Angeles, and you can see thousands of people in a day. Every single one of those people has a story. Everybody you see walking down the street, everybody on the planet Earth has a story. Something has happened to them, something that they're carrying inside. And none of us knows what that story is. Nobody knows what anybody is going through at any given time. So the default with every human being you meet is to just be as kind as possible, to be as nice as you possibly can. You don't know what happened to that person on that day. They lost a spouse, they lost a child, they lost a job, they broke up with a relationship, they broke a nail, whatever it happens to be. Everybody has something going on. Everybody is preoccupied with something, and the best thing that we could possibly do, the only thing that's going to save the planet Earth, is if we are nice to each other.
If we're buddies.
There you go.
We're buddies. That's it. It's all. You're absolutely right. That's
the theme. Yes.
Yes, that's the key about Buddycast. Everyone has a story. Everyone has something going on. Whether it's what they do, whether it's who they are, whether it's just them in general. Everyone has a story. There's something. Even if you think you're the most boring person on earth, you still have a story, no matter what. And it's that story that connects you to other people. And that's why I'm so glad I started this show. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Oh my God. Well, thank you. And nobody is boring, by the way. I mean, everybody is interesting. If you really sit down and ask people questions about themselves, because people love to talk. We all love to talk about ourselves, especially.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody is interesting if you really dig deep.
Mm-hmm. That's the absolute truth. Now, speaking of powerful stories, you've been in some Dhar Mann videos, am I correct?
I have been in many Dhar Mann videos, yes.
Which one was your personal favorite?
Oh my gosh. Well, that's going to be tough, but maybe not so tough. There's one in particular. It was just, I had so much fun shooting this one particular video. There's one, well, for people out there who don't know what Dhar Mann is a YouTube channel, Dharmann. That's the gentleman's name. His name is Dhar Mann. And he has a YouTube channel. And I hope I'm not mistaken about this, I believe it is the #2 YouTube channel these days.
Wow.
Big. I think they have something like 30 or 40 billion views. Crazy. And so he does these short films, basically. And I generally play the same type of person in every one. You've seen some of them, I know. I'm usually the terrible person. I'm usually the evil person. I'm usually the
villain.
The angry. I'm the villain. I'm the angry, racist, homophobic, xenophobic. I hate everybody person, right? So we did this one video where I was where I played a club owner, and an influencer showed up at my club. She had just turned 18, I think. This famous influencer shows up at the club, and I throw her out because I'm wanting more important people to be in my club. And so I throw her out, and I let these other people in, and of course the other people end up robbing me blind. My character always gets it in the end. He always, he always learns a lesson in the end. So I've been in at least 30 Dhar Mann videos. And that particular one where I was the club owner was the most fun I've had on a Dhar Mann set. However, having said that, I love every single one of the videos that I'm in. I love them all. I enjoy them all. I actually love playing the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be my next question. Was do you find it hard being such a nice guy, being the villain? Or is it just part of acting for you? Is it something that you see as a good challenge, I should say,
I mean, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because I love playing the villain. The villain to me is always the most interesting character. I have so much fun being terrible to people in these videos. The bad part about it is that people out in the world, they see these videos and they take them very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So, I actually had to stop reading all of the comments, and then people would find me on Instagram, for instance, and they would send me these DMs that were really awful and hateful. and they would attack me. And at first I would try to respond to everybody. It was like, oh, no, I'm just an actor. I'm just saying the words. I'm not really that person. But it just kept going, and because the channel is so popular, I get tons of them, and so I had to stop kind of reading the comments and answering the DMs. I had to stop because it was just too much. But again, I love the people at Darman. I love the actors I work with. I love the team at Darman. Dar is a great guy and super generous, and I love being there. So I'm not going to stop doing it. But I want to give everybody a disclaimer. Like, I'm just an actor.
Yeah, you're a good guy. It's like the episode of How I Met Your Mother with Billy Zabka, where everyone keeps throwing popcorn at him and something. He's like, I was just a kid playing a role.
Yeah. It's hard. Like, people really get into these things, and they really, like, the lines get blurred, and they take it very seriously, which is great, I guess. But
like, someone actually thinks you're like a ticked off man on a plane who just wants to drive next to this klutz who's actually the guy you're reading. The guy, something like someone thinks you actually, because some people can relate to that. Some people can relate to being like having that moment where they're waiting for someone important or something, or they see someone, they think of someone important, and then all of a sudden it turns out to be the guy right in front of them or something like that, and they don't realize it until like they go into a job interview and this, this elder man is asking them some questions, getting to know them, and they're like, yeah. They're thinking they're going to talk with like this big young executive or something, and then turns out, oh, Mr. Smith, you can, or your office is ready. Sorry, I just had to polish your desk or something. Right. And it's like, you're Mr. Smith? Yes, I am. It
is the classic story. It has happened to many people.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that role, that's actually how I found you, as you being the villain on the plane next to the physicist. How tough was, or what was that role? Not tough. What was that role like for you? What was that video like for you?
Well, okay. That ended up being a really important video, I think, not only for me personally, but I think for Darman, because of course the gentleman who I was working with, I'll explain the story again. I play this super evil guy. I'm sitting on a plane, and we haven't taken off yet, and I'm just incredibly annoyed that the person who is sitting next to me has Down syndrome. And I'm just like, I just don't want to be bothered. And this guy is like super nice, and he wants to chat, and he sees I'm reading this book about physics, so he wants to talk to me about the physics book, and I really just want to be left alone, and I get very angry at him. And I scream at the stewardess, the flight attendant, and I ask to be upgraded to first class. And of course, so it was an interesting shoot because the guy who I was shooting with had Down syndrome. And so when I am working with an actor, I generally, depending on how bad it is, and some of the Darman videos have been very bad. I've particularly played like horrible racists, and so I generally like speak to the actors beforehand, and I just make sure, I want to very much make sure that everybody's comfortable, that everybody understands that, again, this is just an acting role. And I apologize beforehand. I was like, listen, I'm gonna scream at you. I'm gonna yell at you. I'm gonna say some ugly things. Are we both cool? Is everybody cool? Whatever. And I have to be honest, it was slightly more difficult doing it with this great actor, this guy who had Down syndrome, because I thought, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm about to say all these things to this poor guy. But like everybody else who I worked there with, he was kind and generous and gracious, and understood completely the situation. It was like, yeah, go ahead, it's all fun, whatever. But the interesting thing about that particular video was that at some point later, after it dropped on YouTube, it got a huge response. I got a huge response, and there's an actress, I believe she's an Academy Award-winning actress named Viola Davis. She's in The Woman King right now. Go see it. The Woman King, starring Viola Davis. Anyway, so she saw this video. She saw the Doorman video and loved it and reposted it. And so the next day I was flooded. I got thousands of Instagram followers that day, and I was flooded with DMs, and like everybody was texting and calling and emailing saying, "Oh my God, did you see Viola Davis, blah, blah, blah." Then the day after that, Michelle Pfeiffer, the actress Michelle Pfeiffer, she saw it on Viola Davis's feed. So then she reposted it, and then it just blew up like crazy. So that was a big Darman video for me. And that's the one that everybody talks about. Everybody, on the occasions when I get recognized out in the world, it's generally because of that video. Everybody has seen that video.
Hey, that's how we met, That's how, and it was inspiration because what the biggest lesson I took away just from your story alone about the actor with Down syndrome? You know what the main difference between him and you is? Or you and me, or him and me? You could see his challenge in life. We talked about it in the beginning. We all have a story. We all have a challenge. You can't tell this about me now, but I have a form of dwarfism called hypochondroplasia. Translation, I'm a little person.
Okay.
And I say that all the time. You can see my challenge. Like, I can't hide it, I can't walk on stilts very well. I can't, it's pretty obvious. Something like that. But he chooses to take his, and I don't want to say challenge in the bad way. Like, nothing like that. Like, nothing like, oh, it's a challenge. It's like this. But he takes something that he has to live with every day and he turns it into something great. He wanted to be an actor, just like you.
Right.
And he obviously did a fantastic job just from that video alone.
Yeah. Right. Yes, you're absolutely right. Everybody, like we were saying before, everybody has a story. Everybody has a challenge. Everybody has something. Everybody's carrying some, huge luggage around with them, some huge baggage. Some of it we can see, some of it we can't.
And speaking of actors you've worked with, who are some other impacting or inspirational actors that you've gotten the opportunity to work with? I know there's probably a resume of lists,
I mean, well, here's the thing. Yes, I have, because I did in fact start working as a child actor. I think I got my first job when I was about, I don't know, 10, somewhere between 10 and 12 or 10 and 13, something like that. I got my first job. So I've done a lot of work, and I've worked with so many great people, and I got to watch really great, amazing people. I did a movie many years ago with it was just a couple of scenes, but I worked with Dustin Hoffman.
Ooh.
And that was a tremendous experience, because we were sitting there. If you know this about filmmaking, most of filmmaking is just sitting around and waiting. You get there, at 6 a.m. or whatever, and you're waiting for hours and hours and hours. You go through makeup, and you're waiting for them to set up the lights and set up the camera, then get the background people and all of that stuff. Like, it's a lot of waiting. So I was sitting there literally with Dustin Hoffman for like a week, and he was incredibly it was so great. I mean, because at the time, of course, he still is a huge star, a huge movie star. And, but all he wanted to do was talk, and he wanted to talk about acting, and he wanted to talk about theater, and he was interested in what I had to say about acting. And, oh, are you taking class? Where do you take class? What scenes have you worked on? Blah, blah, blah. And so that was a really tremendous experience to be able to work with him and to be able to talk with him about stuff. I love talking about acting and actors and theater. Robert De Niro, I worked on a tiny little role in a Robert De Niro film. So that was amazing to sit there with him and watch him and talk with him about stuff. So many people. There's an amazing actress who is still one of my best friends in the whole world. We worked together as children, and her name is Trini Alvarado, and she's an amazing actress. If you've never seen any of her work, you should find her online. Google Trini Alvarado, and you will see a huge amount of work that she's done. And I am blessed to call her a friend And then again, when I was working in New York in the cabaret rooms, so many tremendous, talented people in New York City, singers, actors, dancers. A great friend of mine named Jason VC is on Broadway right now in A Strange Loop, which is closing in January. So if anybody's in New York City and wants to see great theater, go see A Strange Loop. I mean, I could sit here for hours and talk about all the tremendously inspiring people I've met and worked with.
Brilliant. How about people you want to work with? How about that question?
People I want to work with. I would, you know who I want to work with? Yes, I mean, I have a whole list, of course, but there are particularly people right now. And I hope this doesn't sound horrible. Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda is 85 years old, I believe, and I want to work with Jane Fonda. I want to have that experience soon. You know who I love is Pedro Pascal. I want to work with him. I don't know if you know him. He was on Game of Thrones. You know who I just worked with? I just worked with this amazing actor named Guillermo Diaz. He was on a TV show for many years called Scandal. I was in New York over the summer, and I got to do a movie with Guillermo Diaz, and that was a dream. That was fantastic. Who else do I want to work with? Oh my gosh, so many people. Oh, wait a minute. I want to work with Al Pacino.
There you go. That's the answer I was waiting for.
That's what I should have said. I want to work with Al Pacino still. And he's still working. He's on a fantastic show on Amazon called Hunters. And I'm assuming he's in his 70s. He's definitely in his 70s. He might even be in his 80s as well. And he's still out there working. He's still out there being amazing. Still doing incredible work, which is so inspiring.
If you ever got the chance to work with Al, what would you do?
Well, you know, I'm actually really good about totally being cool on the outside and and panicking on the inside. So that's what would happen. I would be panicking on the inside, like my organs would be shifting around. But on the outside, I would be totally cool. You know, again, he's from the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. So I'd be like, yo, Al, what's up?
Nice. If you're from the Bronx, I got to ask as a Yankee fan, you ever been to Yankee Stadium?
Of course I've been to Yankee Stadium, although I have to admit something. I have definitely been to Yankee Stadium. When I was growing up in the late 60s and early 70s, my Italian family, they were all Mets fans. So we used to go to Shea Stadium. Yeah, sorry.
Ooh. It's okay. I'm a Yankee fan dating engaged to a Red Sox fan, so.
So the struggle is real.
Oh yeah. I met the in-laws for the first time and got that disclaimer out there, and her father said, and we're supposed to forgive you or something?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. No, Red Sox, boo, sorry.
You should see the look she's giving you now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'm sorry. I grew up in New York. The Red Sox. That's a feud that will never end. Sorry.
No, never. But the best part is every time we visit her hometown in Massachusetts, I wear my Yankee cap right through the airport and just
oh my god, you're gonna get somebody's gonna throw a brick in your face. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, just count the dirty looks I get. Just count. Someone's come up to me and gone, "You can't wear that hat here." And I'm like,
no.
And I just did the hat thing where you just adjust the hat just the, you know. So
yeah, I mean, I'm serious. You're taking your life in your hands there. That's crazy.
I live life dangerously. What can I say?
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Well, yeah, sure. You're dating a Red Sox fan. That's pretty dangerous.
So, buddy, now I gotta ask: are there any upcoming roles you can share with our buddies watching?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I just told you about. this past summer, I filmed a movie in New York. It's called "You Can't Stay Here." It is a horror movie about. I shouldn't say horror. It's maybe a suspense. It's a suspense thriller about a serial killer based on a true life serial killer in New York City in the 90s. So that will probably come out in maybe February of next year. It's called You Can't Stay Here. That's the one I did with Guillermo Diaz. Before that, I did a film called The True Blue Ripper, and that one is definitely a horror movie. And I play a very terrible person. I play a very evil, racist cop in that one. But I just saw it at a screening recently, and it's so great. I'm so excited about it. The True Blue Ripper. That's I'm told that might end up streaming pretty soon. And then I have another film that's going to come out very soon, I believe, at the end of this year, maybe by mid to end of December. It's a science fiction film. It's called The Other Side of Infinity. I actually just saw that as well. And it's sort of a science fiction comedy, if that's a thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm sort of the comic relief in this science fiction film. It's literally about the last day of the planet Earth as the Earth goes hurtling towards the sun. So those are 3 projects that I have coming up, and I'm going to be in the Darman Christmas special. Ooh. We just shot it, yeah, and so that will be. I'm assuming that'll go up online sometime in December. I don't know when, but look for the Darman Christmas special, and it's huge. Practically every person from Darman is in it, and I think it's going to be like an hour and a half. I think it's an actual movie, feature-length film.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, aren't those videos usually like 15 minutes or something like that, or like just
usually or less? But no, this one, he did one movie last year that was about a little over an hour, and I think this one is like going to be a full 90 minutes. Yeah. So look for it's the Darman Christmas special.
Nice. Now, I asked you about the biggest lesson you learned from your husband. What about the biggest lesson you learned from Dar?
Oh, again, is sort of the same. Everybody has a story, but also, I guess it's kind of like what I was saying before, is that the lesson is always to never assume, never presume anything about anybody else, and to always just be kind. Let me qualify that statement. Dar and his videos are really about how we treat people, and no matter what our differences are, deep down we all want the same thing. We all want to be happy. We all want to be with our friends and family. We all want to love people and be loved. And I think he's doing the world a tremendous service by making these videos. And I think of, and I'm so happy, and I feel so blessed to be a part of that, even though I'm always the bad guy. That's a lesson too. Like, don't be like me. But yeah, again, I guess it's the same thing that I was saying before. So always be cognizant that people are always going through stuff, that everybody has a story, and just be as kind as you possibly can. And if you're angry and you're going to attack, to just always stop, take a second, stop, take a breath, and go, okay, you know what? This is not. I don't need to be angry in this moment. Good luck to you. Thank you. Whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. We all have that anger moment. We all have that moment where someone's taking too long in line, like something that little to something major, like someone's making us road rage because of the way they're driving, something like that, or someone's doing something major to us, like someone's actually calling us out on something, and it's that moment. Yeah, you just need to breathe, relax. Everyone's going through something. The lady that's taking forever in line, maybe she's just having a rough day because maybe she's going through a lot of challenges. The person driving like a wacko on the street could have somewhere important to be, to maybe, there's a relative in the hospital or something like that, You never know what someone's going through. So you're exactly right.
I think they, the idea behind all of his videos are always treat people with respect, again, which is so important now, especially in this country, the way our politics are, and everybody just sort of hates each other. So yeah, everybody just stop and take a breath.
And that's why Buddycast was created, with everything that was going on in 2020, from politics to the pandemic. I'm like, this world just needs a feel good story, a feel good, not feel good as in though, like, oh, here's a good tale about something, but why you do what you do, like why you wake up every morning and are excited to be an actor, why the, I'm trying to think, like the comedian who hasn't had a role in 2 years because of the pandemic still practices his jokes every day. Why the singer who went from a full schedule to maybe just a few weekends here and there because of this pandemic, because things are still wrapping up, still does what she does,
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what Buddycast was created.
Yeah, and that's so great. I mean, I feel blessed because I think at some point in my life, very early on, I made a choice. I'm not even sure it was a conscious choice, but I knew that I loved what I was doing so much. But it's not easy. It's a very hard career to
Absolutely.
have. And so, but I made the choice to just never give up, never. And even when I'm poor, and even when I'm, eating ramen noodles for dinner, and all of that stuff, because your career in show business is like a roller coaster, it goes up and down. And sometimes, I've gone a very long time without work. But even in those moments, I'm so happy to be doing what I'm doing. I'm so lucky. And if I were to wish anything for everybody, that is to be able to do what it is that you really love. So many people are just trapped in doing stuff every day because they feel like they have to, or they feel like, they've been told that this is what's going, whatever. And if you can figure out what it is that you really love to do and then do it, commit to it 100%. Boy, even if it's the struggle, I love the struggle even because it makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. You know what that reminds me of? My favorite saying from, have you seen the TV show Cobra Kai?
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, you've got it. You've got to see it. After this episode, go just watch the first episode and then text me on Thursday how far you are in the series.
Okay, of course, who doesn't love Ralph Macchio? But
yes. So there's a saying in one of the early seasons that has always stuck with me. It says, "Man who works for passion is far richer than man who works for money."
100% true. There's no question about it. I mean, seriously, there's no question about it. I would rather be working on my craft and be poor than be doing something I hate and be rich.
Exactly. You'd rather go to work every day just getting, hey, you can't get paid today. That's fine. I'll do what I have to do. Rather than, hey, here's $1 million. Go plug in some numbers and stare at a computer screen all day.
I'm not going to lie. I would love $1 million, but
Oh, we all would,
Yeah.
At the same time, just sitting there every day, just doing the same thing, plugging away, doing something. That's something you and me.
There are people who love doing that. There are people who love, working in an office, and that's fantastic. If you love that, then absolutely do it and do it 100%. Mm-hmm. But I just know a lot of, obviously we all know that a lot of people don't get to don't choose to do.
Yeah, they don't get to do what they dream of. There are some people out there who want to be an actor, who want to be, who want to be in Darman videos, who want to be singers, who want to be comedians. They feel trapped, like you said.
Again, even if it's not in a creative field, even if you want to be a doctor or something, and you feel like you're 40 years old and you feel like you can't do it, well, you know what? Go out and be the first 40-year-old in medical school. Just do it. I don't know.
Hey,
that's my hope for everybody. Yeah.
My buddy Patch Adams did it.
There you go. That's right.
Yep. Now, buddy, I've got 2 more questions for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Make this an official Buddycast with these 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is brought to us by my buddy Jonas Kane from #Positivity. He wants to know, in your own words, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
Oh my goodness. Well, that is a very great question, and I think maybe I have somewhat of a complicated answer to that question. And when this happens to, I believe, a lot of gay people. When you grow up gay, like I did, there are countless thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions probably, stories of gay people who were abandoned by their families because of that. So I think in many cases with gay people have to choose their own family. We find our own family. We find our people. So I know how incredibly important it is to have people, to surround yourself by people who support you and love you and fully 100% accept you, and who will always be your ride or die, as they say. It's incredibly important in many ways, much more important than family. Again, because family is who we are, what we're born into. Friends or buddies are the people that we choose. We get to choose each other, and that is very special. It's a very special thing. It's a very special relationship. It is really the connection that we have with our friends, I believe even more so than our families, is really what makes us human. And it's incredibly important. And as I have gotten older, I was one of those people. I still am one of those people who, like, I know a million people. You know, I work in the arts, so I know, and I worked for 900 years. So, I mean, I know a million people. I have a million acquaintances, and I'm one of those people who can walk down the street in New York or Los Angeles and always constantly bump into people I know and all that stuff. And that's terrific. But my circle of friends has definitely gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. It has gotten much more intimate. And I used to think that was a scary thing, but now I think it's a great thing. Because those people are your rock. Those are the people who you really like, who will always be there for you. And it's so super important.
You just remind me of one of my favorite Elton John songs, Chosen Family. You don't need to be related to relate. You don't need to share genes or a surname. You are my chosen family. You know, so what if we're not related? We still go through the same things. You know, that's what makes us chosen family. That's what makes us buddies. So, buddy, I've got one final question for you. It's called the Ultimate Buddycast Buddy Question. You ready for this one?
I hope so.
For anyone out there who wants to be an actor, you've touched on this a little bit, but anyone out there who dreams of being an actor, who, like you said, maybe just needs that little push, needs that little bit of advice to find their way, what's your advice to them?
I think what I would say is, no matter where you are in the country or in the world, there's a local community theater, there's a local acting school. Find it and take class. I still, at this late stage of the game, I still take class. I started taking acting classes when I was, like I said, like 10 years old, or maybe even earlier than that. But it absolutely keeps me focused, and it keeps me grounded. And that's how you meet people. Obviously, that's how you learn things. That's how you learn about text, about plays, about drama, about the camera. That's how you learn about yourself. So take class. That would be the first thing I would say to somebody. Go find a class. Take a class. Acting 101, whatever it happens to be. A scene study class. There, you meet other people who are interested in the same thing. And you work with those people, and you network, and you say, hey, maybe we can do a play somewhere, or maybe we can get together once a week at somebody's house and read a play together out loud. That would be the other thing I would suggest, is to read as many plays as you can possibly get. Watch as many movies as you can, and then talk about them afterwards. Talk about what you liked, why you liked a particular performance, what you thought about the direction. In your local theater community, go see plays. Do all of that stuff. Even watch television shows. Watch a television show and then talk about it afterwards. Figure out why you liked it, what about it you liked. Every day, you can do something. Even if you're working a 9 to 5 or whatever, you can do something. You can take 30 minutes and you can do something that sparks your creativity, that sparks your imagination. And that kind of stuff feeds on itself. Imagination and creativity sort of like, it's like a rolling stone. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how I think that's how you create a life in general, but that's absolutely how you create a career as an actor, and it's how you create a creative existence. So just study, talk, try to learn whatever you can, read, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Brilliant advice. Thank you so much. And thank you for being a buddy here on Buddycast. You're not a guest, you're a buddy.
Thank you for talking with me. It was great fun. Come find me on Instagram.
Yes, what's your Instagram handle?
It's Michael Vaccaro, MichaelVaccaro, Michael Vaccaro on Instagram.
Michael Vaccaro on Instagram. Give me 1 second. There we go. Alrighty, buddy. Well, thank you again for being a buddy here on Buddycast. It was a true honor, a true pleasure. Stick around a minute. We'll chat afterwards. But before we end this episode, I have one favor to ask you.
Okay.
Whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, heck, even next year, please go be someone's buddy.
I love that.
Awesome. For all my buddies out there, this is my buddy Michael Vaccaro. Please look him up on Instagram. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. We'll catch you all next time here on everybody's favorite show, Buddycast.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, tune in.